everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson-Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and we have a kind of double show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about relative race day 5 and 6 due to some being out of town. And so we had to do it both together. But to help do this wonderful panelists are here. We've got Jenny Hawran from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. And look at what, speaking of like herding cats, look what Jenny has, a brand new baby. Introduce us, Jenny.
This is Billy. He's 9 weeks old and he's asleep, and so I don't dare make any sudden movements. But
Well,
happy to be here.
I think it's hysterical that your blog is called Like Herding Cats Genealogy and you've got a cat. Okay, perfect. All right, we've got Melissa Barker, our archive lady. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here too. And we have got Laura Hedgecock from, I almost called you something else. Treasure. I'm really kind of still tired for being out of town. We're so glad that you're here. We are really glad that you're here.
Oh, good.
And is Penny around?
She is busy with a lick pad, which is like a little pad you put peanut butter on because
Right,
she
well,
was
she's
a little
welcome.
full of her. She was a little full of herself a few minutes ago. So
Oh, and I forgot to say your blog is Treasure Chest of Memories. So
correct.
correct. So if anybody would like to look Laura up, you can do it. And the links are always on the blog post and in the videos too. And last but not least, we've got Mary Kircher Roddy from MKR Genealogy. Hello, Mary.
Hello, good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And Mary's got a special stake in this season because, she's got Team Blue from Washington.
Practically neighbors with Team Blue.
Exactly. So it's been really fun. So let's get started with day 5 since we've got a lot to talk about. So we go into day 5 and everybody has got a strike. And Team Red has got an advantage because they get balloons posted by their relatives home to make it easier. Well, the theory is to make it easier to find, but you got to find the right road, right, to even get to the balloon. So that
That's how high the balloons are.
that's true. It depends on how high the balloons are. So they've got that benefit coming out of it. I think for day 5, I think they all kind of had a hard time driving around. None of them really made good time driving, and I think they all were really worried about that when it came to results. But that's result time. But another thing that cracked me up though was Team Green, and they had their little under eye bag patches on.
Yeah.
I have to confess that I've used those before because puffy eyes are just running my family. But I thought it was really cute that they had them on and we're driving down the road and they get rid of their puffy eyes. That was pretty funny. I'm trying to think if anybody else was doing anything funny on the drive. Well, we had of course we had Gabby and David have.
Yeah. So it wasn't funny.
No. I said any other funny things, but then said, nah, nothing else funny. But then we had Gabby and David. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Laura. You can talk.
Well, basically, Gabby was kind of like sleeping and she wasn't helped. She was saying that her stomach hurt and she was having trouble. And that was just, you could tell the conversation was a little awkward because, you got the camera sitting right there as you're trying to talk about it. And, he's like, would you want to just sleep? And finally, she just kind of sat up and said, no, I want to go to urgent care.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. I thought that was and before we move on, Bernice has joined us. Hi, Bernice.
Hello.
We're so glad you're here. We were just kind of getting started talking about day 5 and the things that were happening, and then we were talking about Gabby and her pain and having to go to urgent care. That was scary. That is real scary. My thought was, I wonder if it's appendicitis or something like that.
Yeah.
That was my first thought, but
yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to say very much about healthcare.
No, they're not going to. That's private, and but sounds like she's doing okay. She just needed some. They said she needed some fluids, and that she'd be okay, but she wasn't going to be able to continue on the race. So that was really hard, and I think really scary for all of us watching, and scary for David too. But
Has that ever happened before?
no,
That somebody had to leave right in the middle like that?
Yeah.
Well,
one
in
person.
last season, Team Black
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's a
yeah. No,
different
that's true.
situation.
Right,
Yeah,
but they
different.
both left. It just ended the race right there for them. So
Yeah, last season. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember the interview again. Everything is coming now that I see what Dan was talking about in the interview as the, because he said something happened that's never happened before. And he was saying you won't believe what happened, and then the way that it ended up working out, was different too, and it was. And we'll talk about that when we move on to day 6. But yeah, so what was going on with Team Blue? Let me see if there was anything that I wrote down. Trying to remember two shows and not confuse what happened with one with the other.
Well, and we
Yeah.
had the challenge first, which
Well, yeah,
was
we had the
that.
challenge, but no, I just mean, was anything going on with them as they started out their day?
Oh, as they're driving. Yeah.
Yeah, we needed to
I
mention.
didn't write anything down. Doesn't mean it
Oh, I
didn't
know what it was. I knew there was something. Their family member gave them that workbook, that family history workbook.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Yeah.
thought
It
that
was
was,
written by Brian Sheffy. I
Right.
looked it up.
yes, I'm glad
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have Brian's workbook.
Yes, I've got it over here on the shelf. And so I
Yes,
thought,
it's on my shelf
I know
also.
that workbook. I know that workbook. But what was really cool is because they've got that Polaroid camera, they could take
Yeah.
pictures, but
Mhm.
also the relative had a sticker printer, and so she was printing out pictures that they could just stick on, making them into stickers, the pictures into stickers, so they could just stick it on the book. And I thought that is so cool. Then they can just continue as they go and add to the book. So I thought that was a great idea. That was a really great idea. I love it when they give them things like that, or
Yeah.
pictures or whatever it might be. I just think it's really great. So I knew there was something with Team Blue, so I'm glad I looked at my notes so I could remember what was
Yeah.
going on. Yes. Well, before we get to who they meet, yeah, we do need to talk about the challenge. And guys, I think the ramp it up, wasn't it ramp it up? Yeah, ramp
Yes.
challenge would work for a family reunion.
I think
Oh,
that'd be an
yeah.
excellent one
would.
for a family
Oh,
reunion.
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even I could do that one.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, you take these balls, and the one actually stands with a bat, and then
Yeah.
you take those balls, and the other one throws the ball up this ramp. That's why it's called ramped it
It's
up.
kind of like skee
And
ball.
then
Is it skee ball?
yes, like skee
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah.
And then the other person hits it with the bat, and then it lands on these different places, and you get points, and you had to have like 1,000 points to move on.
Yeah. And after every 250, they switched who did what.
Yes.
But they
Right.
also
There
had
was
the big five, was it
yes,
500 points in the middle?
500 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like a relatively small thing that you had to.
If you hit it, then you got those points really quick and could get done really fast. So
Right.
yeah.
I
My
could tell
first,
how
go
hard
ahead.
they were having to hit it to get it to go anywhere.
And if you notice, the person who rolled the ball up the ramp, they had to duck because a
At
couple of them at
Right.
first, a couple
That
of them
was
got
so-
hit, and then I noticed they all
Right.
started
least there were those,
ducking.
big bouncy balls you always see kids playing with in Walmarts or Targets and stuff. They're always playing with them, those rubber bouncy balls. So my first thought when they were describing it, I thought somebody's gonna get hit in the head because I'm thinking like a baseball or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's dangerous until I saw what kind of ball that they were gonna use, and then I felt a lot better about it. It'll be okay. We won't have anybody going to the hospital, I don't think, after this challenge. So
Yeah. Right.
but I think they were all having a really good time with it. It was not too stressful, and it was just, they were having a good time with it. And everybody seemed to be able to figure out how to do it and get it done pretty quickly. I don't think anybody had nobody timed out. That was good, except for Team Black. But then it's
Right.
because David was by himself, and so he couldn't do that one. So since he was by himself, so Team Black timed out on that one. So which was sad, but.
Did they even get, I mean, I don't think he even went there. I think
No,
Mm-mm.
I think he
no,
was
he went straight. They let him go
I
straight
think
to
there was much waiting involved.
right, longer than
right.
probably we even could tell. Yeah, and then he was able to go to his relative's house. Bernice, do you have anything to say about the beginning of day 5 that maybe we haven't covered? We're so glad you're here.
For what I just heard, I think you covered everything. Certainly being concerned about Gabby and her stomach pains, but he did what he had to do. He had to stop.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's what you do. You just stop and you don't go forward. You know, your team member, their health is more important than whatever. And we know, and I think everybody knows from watching the show, that if something happened and they couldn't go on, they would get to still meet the relatives. You know, it wouldn't be the way it is on the show, but and of course they wouldn't get to day 10, but at least relative race would still make sure they got to meet everybody that they were going to meet. So we know that for sure. So, but he did get to go, and so he got to continue. Which What do you want to talk about first? The relatives. These are some fun relatives. Who would you guys like to talk about on day 5? Who met whom? We could start with Team Red, because that was really fun.
Yeah, there were some sweet things there.
It was sweet. Laura, do you want to tell us who Dan met?
Well, he met his aunt, whose name is Lori.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wrote down, now this has been a week ago, but what it was really, she talked about that his life started with 2 prayers.
Oh, I just got chills when they talked about that.
And the one prayer was his biological mother, who prayed for a good family for him.
Yes.
And his adopted mom was praying for a redheaded baby.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I was with you, I just thought it was so sweet.
Yes.
That's just the whole idea of these 2 different mothers praying for, and so he found out from his Aunt Lori that his mom's siblings were all redheaded, and Lori is 14 years younger than Dan's mom. So there was a big.
So they're only 5 years apart. Yeah. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
only 5 years apart. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing. So
yeah.
That's the substance of what I wrote down.
Well, yeah, but it was so sweet. It was just, I mean, the connection and that hug lasted quite a long time. You know, it was really sweet.
And I thought he said, I mean, one of the things I wrote down was that aunts are like second moms. They love you just like your moms do. And he was so emotional about, about meeting her, and it was so sweet.
It was sweet. And he'd already met his biological mom. And so I was just like, this is so sweet that he's this emotional too about meeting, his mom's younger sister, his aunt. So it was just so sweet. The whole thing was just so sweet, And
And it was about family, just meeting another family member.
Exactly. And the stories and photos and everything that she could share with him it was just beautiful. That was just a beautiful, beautiful moment. So had me tearing up, had me tearing up. They started me tearing up when he said it all started with 2 prayers, and that got me. And then and then his reaction, it was just beautiful. And I didn't realize he said that he grew up with an adopted sister that was his adopted parents' biological child, and how close he is to his sister. And I thought that was really sweet, because I don't think we'd heard that before, that he had a sister that he grew up with. So I thought that was really interesting information and sweet information, and that then his parents wanted a little redhead boy too. So that was great. But we'll see. He's gonna get that red hair as we're on day 5. It's coming from your maternal line. And when we go to day 6, we're gonna say, wait a minute. It may be coming from his paternal line.
No spoilers.
He's got it from both. I know he's got it from both, which I think is really funny. I think it's really funny that after all that, it's really going to be, who knows where he really got it from. So DNA is interesting, isn't it? It really is interesting how those things can work out. Mary, what about Team Blue?
They went to Kennewick, Washington, which is kind of in southern Washington along the Columbia River. My sister used to live in Kennewick, so I was kind of looking at it to see if I remember any of the places. Yeah. And she met her it was her cousin,
Mhm.
Aletha,
Yeah,
on her dad's side.
yeah, yeah. So fun. So fun. I mean,
Yeah.
and you can just, yeah, she's just so excited about meeting everybody. Well, they all are, and just learning information about their family and how people fit together and the things that they enjoy doing together. I think it's just, I think we've talked about this so many times, is that they just where do we get our talents and those kind of things, you know? Is it genetic? Is it because we grow up in a family that does these kind of things? I think it's a little bit of both, but it's just so interesting when we see that people get together and how much they have in common, and they never knew each other before, or they weren't raised together, but you know, I just think it's remarkable. Um, so what else? I think, she gave her pictures of the grandparents. And that's when she learned that her grandmother, her paternal grandmother, was Finnish. And so, yeah, I thought that was great. And she never knew.
Sorry, I
No,
watched it a week ago, so I
that's
did
okay.
not.
It's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah,
Brush up
that's when she
again.
found out
Yeah.
that she was Finnish, and that you know, her grandmother was from Finland. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, back, you know, several generations back. That's where her maternal grandmother was from. And so she's like, I know nothing about that culture. I've got to learn. You know, I know nothing about them. So
But I
that's
really liked what
yeah.
Aletha said. She made the
Mhm.
comment that this process or this meeting of Roseanne or Joni has
Yes.
brought their family
Yes.
closer together. And so
Yeah.
I really picked up on that, and I thought, I wonder about these families and these
Hmm.
relatives that are meeting these people. And I wonder, you always wonder how that's affecting
Yes,
the
I
entire
agree.
family. And so, but
Yeah.
she said that it's making them closer. I thought, well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense though, because if you think you have this family that you kind of take for granted, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're family, we're fine. Then you realize that other people are desperate for that kind of
Yes.
closeness, that you
Yes.
realize, we have something we should be more actively cherishing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, you notice some people are always looking for similarities, or
Hmm.
where did I get the hair? Where did I
Oh,
get the eyes?
sure.
She also found out that her grandmother was 5'11".
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
comes from her height, and she's very excited to know, oh,
Yeah.
she's 5'11".
No wonder. No wonder I'm tall, she says.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just so much. And just you can just see her eating all that information and just appreciating it and just being so excited. I just love that. Team Green. Oh, did you want to say something else, Mary?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off if you were going to say something else. Let's go to Team Green. That was exciting for Jen as they drove up and this woman comes out. Who'd like to tell us who she met?
She
Bernice,
met
you
her
want?
sister.
Oh, go ahead.
She met her
Okay.
sister, Shauna.
Yeah.
And they looked a lot alike,
They
of
did
course.
look a lot alike,
Yeah.
and acted they acted a lot
Mhm.
alike, and
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. So I
And
thought
she
that was
showed her a family reunion photograph, and not me, but many genealogists can relate to this, is that there were
yeah,
so many people in that
yeah. There
photograph.
were. I wrote it down. How many were? Don't
A
I
remember.
didn't
hundred
write
It was
down how many.
133.
133, right? 133 people. Is that right, Jenny? Yeah,
Yeah,
133.
133. Yep.
And they're
Kill.
still having babies, huh?
Right, and that was in what? That was in like 2018 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago that picture was taken. So there's a lot more people in it now, but how
Well, that
fun.
just means that Jen has a lot more family to
She's got
meet.
a
Yeah.
lot more family to meet. Exactly, exactly. And it's interesting how they'll say, well, yeah, dad just came up and said, oh, by the way, you have a sister. And we were all
Yeah.
fine with it, you know? That must be so interesting. It's just to have, you know, all of a sudden find out, you know, that you've got the kitty cat must be acting up. She'll be back. That find out that you've got a brother or a sister that you never knew anything about, you know.
Mhm.
I don't even know how you process that, but luckily, for the most that we've seen on Relative Race, they take it pretty well. They're happy and they're grateful to me.
I still think certainly there's an adjustment period. I mean, I can't even imagine that some people have to go through therapy, some sort of therapy to cope with it, but not only cope with it, but then to move on, and to figure out how is this going to work now? Because, but I think that so far in this particular season, it's been really positive and loving and accepting. And so it's really good to see that.
I think so too. And all of Jen and Leland's family have been very positive and very outgoing and very warm and very loving towards them. And so I think that has helped. I think that's helped. But we're still not answering that question about their hair. I keep wondering.
I know. I keep looking at everybody that they meet. Okay, what's their hair look like?
Yeah, because that was one of the things that we were told that they were trying to figure out. So far, not a thing.
Nothing. Laura, what'd you say?
I said it seems mean because you're looking when you see the family member and you're just like looking for a
because we want to know. Well, we didn't bring up the topic. Relative Race did.
Well, that's what they said at the beginning was the question they wanted answered as to who in the family did they get this disorder from. And so I'm waiting to find.
Me too. I'm doing exactly the same thing. It's just it's strange.
It is interesting. Well, hopefully, I'm sure that they'll say something about it, I would hope, before the end of the season, because they did talk about it in their interviews. So I guess they'll.
Now, did we already say this that so Shauna showed a text that she had gotten, I think, from her father right before they came, and it said, "Love her as much as you love me."
Oh, so sweet. Yeah.
Isn't that sweet?
That is so sweet. Because because he knew she was coming to meet him. They'd already met. So I thought that was really sweet and I'm sure, and a lot of times we don't hear about it, but I'm sure they talk to each other along the way, the family members that know they're meeting these people.
I'm sure they
have to call each other and say, okay, we had our meeting. This is what happened. This is what they're like. You're going to enjoy them, that kind of thing. So they must talk to each other. Can't imagine being able to hold that back. I don't think
there might be some rules. They probably have to hold some stuff back,
or at least not say it on camera, but I'm sure they can talk to each other. I'm sure that they can talk to each other. So we get to Team Black, and Bernice, do you want to tell us what happened with David?
Well, David met his brother, and it was so emotional.
Oh my gosh!
As soon as I saw him, I said, "Oh, that's his brother."
Oh yeah, right. No doubt.
Was just there. And I wrote down something. I think his brother's name Gilbert. And Gilbert said, God intervened.
Yeah.
They would never forget him and never stop loving him. And so he also said he can't imagine, what his brother went through. But he was there, they were there. Meaning there are other people that he's aware of, but it was a very emotional meeting for them to see each other. Yes.
Oh, it was, and he just kept saying my baby brother. Gilbert just kept saying, I found my baby brother. So I can't even. But then he did tell him a little bit about their father, and that was kind of sad. He said they were in a car and the father had turned to look at Gilbert and he just said, I apologize and I take responsibility for everything that's happened in our family. I do love you, but I'm the cause of your pain and I'm sorry about that. And that just got to me, that just got to me. And we do know, and David does know, that his father, that was his greatest wish before he died, was to be able to somebody to be able to find David so that he would see him again. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. I mean, he's found now, and the family knows where he is, and he knows where his family is, but he wasn't able to meet his father. And so I know that that's sad for him, but at least the brother can share that information, and say, this is what he told me, this is how he felt about whatever it is that happened, and caused David to not be in their family anymore. So at least he was able to get that, and that's got to be healing. It's got to be helping him to process, I guess, is what I mean for things. It's not just that empty question about whatever happened to my dad, and did he care, and did he love me? And so he did find out that, yeah, of course he did, and so that was, I loved that meeting for him. I just thought that was very special and very sweet. Anybody else got anything they wanted to share about?
He also shared a picture of his father.
Oh yes, absolutely, he did. And so I love how he says, "Oh, look, he's so handsome. He looks just like me." And
just like me.
and he starts laughing because he realizes what he just said. Oh.
I would just add that it was a very emotional meeting, and part of it too maybe was David was just already very emotional about not knowing what was going on with his niece and what's going to happen next, and how to handle things. And so and I don't even know how they didn't really cover how they talked to him about, well, just go into because they said he didn't know whether it was his relative or hers when he got there.
How that would have been very
and so it was very emotional. And Jenny, I thought about you because you said, like, on day one, I know Team Black is going to be the one that makes us cry.
It's true. I mean, I oh my gosh, it's a tearjerker every time between Dan and David. I'm crying like nonstop.
Exactly. So. Exactly. So emotional, but yeah. So we get to that point. Everybody's at their relatives, and we have to go through before we can talk about day 6. And I was telling everybody before we started, if we had to do 2 together, at least we could do 5 and 6 together, because that would have been so hard just to end on day 5 the way it was and not know. that was quite a cliffhanger is what was going to be happening. But of course, they had to meet, and they had to go over their times, the results, because that's the race. And Dan told them that whoever came in first, the benefit for the next week was 3 minutes off. Or was that the next time? No, that's next time. Never mind. See?
Yes, it's next time.
I got my 2 things. I got my 2 confused.
Benefits.
Yeah, they were going to get my 2 days merged together. What they were going to get is a penalty. The winning team wouldn't have to have a penalty, or
that's how they said it.
At the challenge, and the other teams would. So and then Dan said something about remember to brush your teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what? So for day 5. Team Black, of course, they had to give him that second strike because of what happened. I mean, so they just went ahead and just did that. But you could tell as they were introducing everybody and who they met and all that, of course they could see that Gabby wasn't there, and that they were all, of course, shocked and were sending out prayers for Gabby, because at that point they, weren't still quite sure what was going on with her, or what was going to happen with David. And so I think it was very shocking for the other teams to get that news about Gabby, because you don't want to hear that. I mean, I know it's a race and I know it's a competition, but you don't want anybody to get hurt or be ill or have to drop out or anything, you just.
And plus they had all had really bad directional or time days. Yeah. So every team thought they had lost.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, we're going to get a strike. We're going to get a strike until magically they weren't.
Yeah. But you're right. They were all concerned that they would. So, but Team Green came in first, and they were shocked. They were absolutely shocked. You can just see it on their faces. What? They came in first. So good for them. Good. That was their first, isn't it? Their first.
Yes.
I
think
believe
so, yeah.
I think it's our first. And then the other two teams, it was red and then blue. And so now we've got Team Black with 2 strikes and everybody else has got 1. So, that's moving into day 6 and who knows what's going to happen as we move into day 6. As we come into it, we have no idea what's going to happen with Team Black. We have the teams getting to know each other a little bit better. Team Green starting day 6. Got to get my notes out. They went on a walk. They were getting to know their relative, and let's see what else was going on. We'll talk about what happened with David last, and then Team Green went on a walk, and let's see what else happened. Besides Team Black, what else were they doing at the beginning?
That's all I had written down, actually.
Yeah. I don't know that they showed much about the other families beforehand.
I think they had to focus their time else.
I think they had to. You're right. They had to focus their time on Team Black. Who wants to tell everybody what happened for Team Black?
There was a knock at the door.
Yes.
And a woman comes in, and she's David's niece.
Yeah.
And so he's thinking at first that he's just meeting another new relative.
Yeah,
kind of weird. But then she says that she's going to be his new partner.
Yeah.
And so, so it's his sister. Her name is the niece is Raylene, and she's David's sister Kathy's daughter.
The first one that he met. Yeah.
And it's interesting. She lives in Southern California. And she said something as they were driving that any relatives, they will be now putting his relatives in Airbnbs. So she doesn't know how to get right to their house. She doesn't know where they're going to be either.
Because that wouldn't be fair.
Right. It wouldn't be fair. I was wondering how they were going to deal with that, because they knew that they were in that area where his family was going to be. And so how are they going to deal with this? And they just send them to different cities.
That
and
was
different addresses.
I thought that was great. And then of course for her, she's going to know who they are. But I wonder if there was any more relatives for Gabby out there, and if they just had to retweak some things and then let her meet hers, off camera.
I wondered that too. And then also she had said like the whole family, and I'm sure relative race was with them, like they were all like brainstorming and desperately, you're trying to figure out how something could happen, how they could let him go on, which I thought was really incredibly sweet, that they're like, okay, one of us has just got to give up the rest of the week. We have to go on national television. So I thought that, but I wondered too, like, I did think it was great that at the very beginning, Gabby met her grandmother and her aunt and her cousin all together. So at least, but I don't know how they're going to handle that.
Yeah. Maybe they'll let us know somehow, throughout the process. But
I think relative race was probably scrambling too. Like,
probably.
What are we going to do? We have somebody that's willing to continue.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought maybe they were going to just let him go by himself.
That would be so hard to do, because he couldn't do the challenges.
He wouldn't be able to do the challenges.
And it would be hard to make it. So
So
he needed somebody to help him with the navigation.
Yes, exactly.
She says she's good at that.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be fun and a good way to really get to know your new.
That's right.
They'll know each other really, really well at the end of this. So, so kudos for Raylene for stepping in. And she said that
precious. Really
there was a conference call with several family members to decide how we're going to help David. And you could just see that he was so appreciative. He just was so grateful that they would do that for him. A little unbelievable, I think he thought at the beginning that they would do that for him. Somebody that they hadn't met before. They were just learning about, and I mean, they knew him, they knew he existed, but I mean, they didn't know each other. And so to want him to continue to meet his other relatives, I think that was just a very sweet thing for them to do. So I'm excited. I'm excited that Team Black gets to stay in the race.
Yeah.
Was somebody going to say? Okay, I thought somebody was trying to say something. I didn't want to talk over anybody.
And it's another first, because this is the first time that I know of. I mean,
yes,
that this has happened. So that's another first.
It is another first, right? And so now we know if it happens again, we don't want it to happen again, but now we know they've got protocols set up for how they can handle it.
Right.
And so, I think that's good. I think that's good. But yeah, we definitely never want that to happen again. So they let's see, what was their challenge? Is anything else about these teams that we want to talk about before we get to the challenge about their driving? Well, Team Green's got to quit running, stop sign.
Yeah, what was that all about? Some behind the scenes story, I think.
Yeah, there must be. Yeah. So yeah, and there was a little edginess between mom and daughter.
It was very mother-daughter-ish.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh my
I will say that I don't know if anybody else picked up on it, because that's when I write it down, is when Dan had called and told them where they're going.
Yeah.
I don't, either they just cut it out or something, but they didn't say where Blue was going until they showed the map. Because at the beginning on the phone call it says, because one of them,
I'm so observant.
Oh. And so, but they just, I thought, well, where is Blue going? Because that's when I write it down on my notes. And so, but then when they showed the map, they showed it to Yakima, Washington. Where's that, Mary?
That is on the way from Kennewick toward Seattle. And it's a big wine country, that area. I mean, lots of grapes grow in Yakima.
Yeah. Oh. Very cool. That must be so much fun for you every time to see where they're going. And go, I know.
I've been to.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I felt about Team Green because go ahead. Yeah. That's how I felt about Team Green, because they were going to Albuquerque and I used to live in Albuquerque. So I was like, yes, another Albuquerque team, because a couple of seasons ago we had an Albuquerque team. And so once again, I was like, no, Northwest, you got to get on the freeway. No, where are you going? And so because Albuquerque is cut up into northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest. And so it's cut up in that kind of grid. And so if you know that, then you either got to go north or south into that quadrant from the interstate. But I mean, when you don't know and you've never been someplace like that before, you don't know. So they had a little bit of trouble getting there. See, something was going on with Team Red when they were driving. Did they get, or was it Team Blue that got stuck in traffic? Was it Team Blue? I think it was Team Blue.
Yeah, they got stuck.
Team Blue. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and was it Team Red that went past their house? I don't remember. One of them went straight past their house and had to turn around, but that could have been the last. So it's hard doing two shows because you think you don't remember which show it was in. So, but
see, it's not. I managed to lose my notebook between the shows. So one's written in the notebook and the other one's just on a sheet of paper. So.
Oh, I know what it was. They went inside and they thought they had found a map. They had found a map, and as they go running out, they realized it was just a brochure and it wasn't a map. So they were so excited. And then I think they asked the pizza guy, and the pizza guy was able to tell them where to go.
Yeah.
And I think it was Team Green that once again they thought they got good directions, but it didn't turn out to be so good. They keep having trouble with that. People tell them where they're supposed to be going and it's not being quite right. Or I think sometimes too, when you're in a hurry like that, you don't hear it correctly. I'm wondering if that's part of it.
Well, if it's complicated, even if someone knows, but if they're like, well, you go 2 miles down the road to where the A&P used to be, they're driving like, wait, we don't know where it used to be.
We don't live here. Exactly. Too funny. So we get some really great relatives again. Oh no, we got to talk about the challenge. See, I'm still, yeah. Go talk about the challenge.
Float the flag.
Float the flag. Float the flag. Yes. And
that's another one I think that could be done at a family reunion.
It could be, but I don't know that I could.
If you had like a power washer or something that you
could probably do it. Yeah. But I think I would have walked up to that and gone, I have no idea how to get this blowing through there. Maybe it was easier once if you were there doing it, but they had to connect all these tubes and get the water to flow through it. And then when it came out, it had to push a flag up a little water slope pipe, and when it got to the top, then your time was out. So, but Team Red, Dan was like, "Oh, this is great because this is what I do.
That's what he does for a living."
Yeah. So he says we can do this, and then Team Green, they own a plumbing
store,
right?
Yeah. I'm like, well, that's good, And so I would have just, I don't know. I don't think I would have been able to figure that one out.
The only thing I did notice, and I didn't notice it until they met their relative, and so I didn't notice if they had them during the challenge. But Jen on Team Green and Kaylee on Team Red both were wearing knee braces.
I noticed that. Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know if it was something that they wear, some people have issues and they have to put on a knee brace every once in a while, or was it because, most of these challenges, I think until this one have been pretty physical.
Yeah, so maybe.
So I wondered if maybe, maybe they tweaked their knee.
I think it's more likely to be the day before's challenge.
Yeah, that got to them. Maybe so. Mary, did you want to say something? I think you're
No, I'm just kind of freezing. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just making sure that we don't miss any of your thoughts. So just making sure I wasn't ignoring you down there in the corner.
Thank you, because I miss a lot of my thoughts.
Don't we all, Mary? Don't we all?
We all do. We all do. So I thought it was a pretty fun challenge. They all seemed to, a couple of them had blowouts. Team Black had a blowout. They got theirs going. It just kind of was squirting, and they were sopping wet. Were absolutely sopping wet. But then they finally got it to work, and they worked pretty good together since they didn't know each other. I thought it was almost like a stranger team, from past seasons. They have to learn to work together.
I noticed he was a little bit like a cheerleader, like everything she did. Good job,
Yeah.
So funny. And then who else's blew up? Somebody else's. Team Green's kind of didn't work at the beginning. And then did anybody else's blow up? I'm trying to remember.
I thought Black was only true, and they didn't blow the pipes apart. It just he did the right thing. He held it together.
He held it together, and so did Team
Right.
So that it didn't really take much time to get it fixed.
Yeah. So they all did pretty well on that one. But yeah, it might be hard to set up at a family reunion game, but who knows? Maybe.
If you have someone in the family that's a plumber.
There you go. Or you just find somebody who is. It would be willing to set it up for you. But anyway, so that was really fun. That was really fun. And this is the one that when we're talking about whoever came in first gets the 3 minutes. So this day. So whoever. So
because they had to wear those terrible things the dentist puts in your mouth to hold.
Yes.
The retractors, dental retractors.
Yes, that's why they had to brush their teeth.
Right. They were giving each other instructions, but you can't talk.
I gotta do it like this now, and then they were laughing.
And how many of you have had a dentist put that in your mouth and then they want to talk to you?
Yeah.
And there's that game. There's a game. There's a kids game. Yeah, there's a kids game that has those in it too that you can get and play. So
I didn't see that it really hindered any of the teams much. I think they got their point across, or were able to do what they needed to do.
I think they did. Yeah. And so it was only Red didn't have to do it because they'd come in first, right? So they didn't have or was it Red?
No, Green didn't have to do it.
Sorry, Green didn't have to do it. Thank you, Jenny. I gotta not go on vacation because then when I come back, I'm tired. I can't think. So anyway, so yeah, but I thought that was kind of funny. So, but yeah, I don't think it really hindered too much. But boy, they were happy when they said the thing buzzed and we could take it out. They were just throwing them on the ground. We can talk now. We can talk now. So. And then off they were going to their relative's house. And gosh, Team Blue, Mary?
Well, they met a very tall cousin. She was
Yes,
5
they
feet 13 inches
did.
tall.
Yeah.
5 feet. I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was great. 5 feet 13 inches tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the fact that she's living on family property.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
explained
on
that.
Whidbey Island. So she doesn't live in Yakima where they visited.
Right.
She lives in there's a big body of water here in Western Washington that's called Puget Sound, and it has lots of islands in it.
Yeah.
And so Whidbey Island is one of the larger islands, and there's a naval air station actually on Whidbey Island.
Okay.
With growlers, the planes. But yeah, so that's where her cousin lives, and talked about that she used to go up there on the weekends and then just hated Sundays because she'd have to go home and go to work. And she said, I don't want to do this anymore. And so she quit work and moved full time to the island.
To the island, because her
great.
parents had owned it, right? That little piece of property, or well, I don't know,
Yeah.
little, but the piece of property, her family had owned it, and then when they passed away, it went to her and her brother, and so wouldn't we all love that?
Yeah.
It's just the one day,
Yeah.
hey, we don't want to leave. We're gonna just live here, and oh, wouldn't that be beautiful? That'd be beautiful. That's wonderful for her. And of course, you know that Team Blue will be able to go visit at some point and see this land that is connected to their
Yes,
family.
yes.
I'm sure. But there was something unique to this cousin. And as Mary said, she was so tall. And then she says, finally.
Yeah, that's the Finnish, that Finnish roots. And she also talked about Miss Jarvamäki, and that's what so anyway, she said it means lake hill.
Yes.
So that kind of neat to get that translation of it.
Yeah,
what that was.
Yeah, that's great. And then Joni was just thrilled because finally she met somebody that was taller than her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she made a statement. She says she felt like that she belonged and that she fit.
She fit.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what we want to hear. We want them to feel that way, you know. We want them to feel that way. I thought that was very sweet. It was very, very sweet. Yeah.
Washington, and I will just bring this up only because it is an important for genealogists to understand. A lot of Scandinavians in Washington. Seattle has this big Scandinavian neighborhood and Ballard. And one of the things that, if you don't know where your ancestors came from, you can look at the planting catalog, the seed catalogs, to figure out what are the same kind of crops that grow, in Europe, say, and that's a lot where your ancestors, since they knew how to grow stuff in that climate zone.
That's very interesting.
And I think that's why we have so many Scandinavians.
From there. That is really, really interesting. I'll have to look. I can't, me, I'm still trying to get my people out of South Carolina. So once I can figure that out where they actually came from, maybe.
Yeah. So I have
help me.
I don't have Italians, but where I grew up in California is just like Tuscany in Italy. So there are tons of Italians that settled in around my area. So it really does hold true.
Yeah. That's very cool. That's very cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure it's going to help somebody who's doing their family history to figure something out. You probably just helped somebody break a brick wall, Mary.
Yeah,
hopefully.
You probably did. Who would like to talk about, I don't know, who do you want to talk about? Team Green, anybody?
Well, they went to Albuquerque.
They went to Albuquerque.
Yeah, you talk about Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Well, they went to Albuquerque, and I was just yelling at them to go down the right road. Albuquerque is, when you know Albuquerque, it's easy because you know the volcanoes are on the west side and the mountains are on the east side. And so it's just, but if you don't live there, you don't know that. And so they don't know these areas. And they weren't going there because it was a location that they knew, or because a lot of times they do go to locations that they kind of know. So they know we've got family here. We don't know who the family is going to be. but I think this was probably, I don't know, that might have been her house, but it might have been another Airbnb, and just put her, on the road so that they can have a good pathway to get to whom all the people they're trying to get them to. So, but they met another cousin, which I thought was great. And this cousin was the daughter of one of the aunts. You remember the aunts from day one? Yes, you remember the aunts? Well, this is a daughter of one of those sisters, those aunts that had passed away. And so it was her daughter. And so yeah, and so that was kind of sad, because she said if I'd have known her, she was probably as bubbly and outgoing and as crazy as the others that I met. And her daughter's like, yeah, she really was. She really was. So that was a sweet reunion, because that's helping her get to know another aunt. And and yeah, they are a lot alike. Their personalities.
Very bubbly, yeah.
Very outgoing, and so is she. And I thought it was interesting too that she said, Jen said that she has felt in her life it was her job to help people feel comfortable and welcomed and loved and included. And she says, now I know where I get this from, because that's how my biological family has helped me to feel. And I thought that was a wonderful comment about how she's feeling about this family.
She said she felt so wanted. She felt so wanted. I thought was that was great.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And you can just feel, I mean, because she said we're already making plans to do stuff together after the show, So she says this is not just going to be, oh, we met you and then we won't see you again. We're already making plans to do things together, come back to that reunion, So there'll be an addition to the next reunion, because they even told her what the date is. This is when we have it. It's always this like third something in July, or so like, third weekend in July. And so they already have these great plans to get back together. And I love that she's gonna be part of this new family, this new family that she's found, just extending her family that she grew up with into this bigger group of people that will just all love each other. And I just think it's wonderful. That was a sweet reunion. So yeah. Okay, we didn't do red. We didn't do red. Oh my goodness, he wants to do red. Red was incredible.
Bernice, read that he got a family history book.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And it was done in 1983. So I love that idea. I loved it because it was not necessarily before internet, but it kind of was before most of the internet. And when they showed the book, the pictures in there and everything, and how it was set up, I thought was really cool.
It was really, really cool. Yeah. And so who did Dan meet?
His sister, Hannah.
Sister on her father's side, on his father's side.
Yeah. And they knew it was Dan's relative. How come?
Beautiful red hair.
So that's why I was saying, no, you couldn't miss it. So they knew exactly it had to have been. But when she said, I'm your sister, oh, that was another tear-filled moment, and both of them were so emotional. They both were about this meeting. So I just, again, made me cry.
Yeah.
Well, he got his pictures of his dad.
Yes.
Which was a little bit shocking, because I was expecting red hair.
Right.
Because and
but then we find out that he has Native American ancestry in his ancestry. I wrote down, they said the name of the tribe, but I wrote down the Flathead tribe. I believe that's what was the alternate
It's the Flathead
name.
there in Montana. There's Flathead Lake in Montana. Right. My sister used to live on Flathead Lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So so what they said was Dan's father was from that tribe. His Dan's maternal grandmother was from the tribe, but she married a white man. This is what it looked like.
with red hair.
With red hair. So then we know where the red hair comes from. Then we're thinking, wait a minute. But then last week, so he's got red on both sides. So he got it honestly from both lines. So I think that's kind of funny that everybody was saying this is where you get your red hair from. It was from both.
But it wasn't all good news.
No, it wasn't all good
No.
news. No, Bernice.
They
come on, Bernice, have the chance to talk. Yeah.
What?
I just had called on Bernice so that she could have a chance to talk, but that's
I had to leave and go to choir practice.
okay. Oh, okay. That's all right. Laura, what did he find out?
Unfortunately, that his father had passed away at age 43.
Yeah.
And so the sisters said that basically she had only gotten to meet her father, I think she said when she was 15.
Yeah, 15 or 16.
Met him like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hadn't really had a chance of getting much of a relationship. He died back in 89, I think.
89.
Car wreck. Yeah, it was a car wreck. And so she said, but meeting Dan is like meeting a part of John Hunt.
Yeah.
And that that it obviously meant a tremendous amount to her to meet him. Because we always think of it as the other way around.
Yeah.
So but that was kind of sweet but sad.
Sweet and sad.
Yeah.
Because she still had a lot of grief. You could tell that.
Oh, you could tell, and then he had said again, and he said at the beginning, he said, I wasn't expecting to meet either parent because of his age and figuring out how old they would be. He was, he wasn't sure he'd meet a parent. At least he was able to meet his mother. But it's sad that he won't be able to meet his father, but at least the sister could tell him some things. I mean, she didn't know him well, but when you meet somebody at least 3 times, you know something that you can say, And she had those wonderful photos that she could share. And you could see
the father was really tall.
Yes.
He was 6'7".
Yeah, so he knows where the height came from. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved the photos because you could see the Native American dress that he was wearing, like he was, maybe part of some kind of ceremonies or things like that, and several of the photos. So I thought that was really fun for him to see, and how shocking for him to go, I've got what?
Yeah.
So had never even dreamed, you don't when you're redhead. When you're that, you feel like, you're that pale and a redhead, you have no idea. But what's interesting, because that just shows you that with DNA, we're finding out that we're all more related to each other than we ever thought. We're all a little bit of just about everything. So, Mary?
Well, speaking of the DNA, I just think it must have been very interesting for the experts on relative race to see that in him.
Yes.
Because he's got 25%. I mean, his dad's half Native, so he's 25% Native American.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't show it at all in his books. So it must have been really interesting for relative race experts to see that and thought, we've got to get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah.
It's good for people. Judy Moon always talked about, she looks more like her Scottish ancestors than she does her Native ones.
Yes.
And that you never know by looking at somebody. You think you might know.
Yeah.
But you don't really.
You just don't know. So I think that was a fun discovery. I think it was really fun.
But Dan also said he had some Prussian in him too.
Yes.
The Bio family.
Yeah.
From Prussia. So he definitely is his own little melting pot.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
That's great. That was another fun and very emotional. They just kept hugging and kept saying, "Can I hug you again?" and I noticed she grabbed his hand as they went into the house, and so this means a lot to her as well, because she said she was of course Dan's older than she is, but I think didn't she mention that she had a younger brother? So, but we don't know if that person is related to Dan or not, because
yeah,
we don't know if they have the same father. So, or so we don't know. Yeah. So anyway, but she said so she was excited to have an older brother. But anyway, so that was really fun. So we've done green, we did red. Did we do blue?
Yes, we did
Yeah,
blue.
we did blue. We did blue. See, I'm just still out of it. We need to do black. Oh my gosh, Bernice, are you up to telling us about Team Black?
David met his niece. I thought we did black.
I thought we did too.
Not
we talked about him meeting his niece.
Yeah.
That was on day 5.
That was the morning.
Yeah, that was in the that was in the morning when the niece came
Okay.
to. But he met when they got to the relative's house. It was another niece.
Another niece, like Christina.
Yeah. And she was there representing her mom.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting. Yeah. I thought that was really, really interesting that she was there representing her mom, and that who was David's sister.
Oldest sister, right? Is it she was the one holding him in a photo?
Oh, yes. That was very touching for him to realize that was the sister that was holding him, and she just didn't feel like she could do the show, and that's fine.
Right.
And that's fine. So that was sweet that her daughter came and talked to him and introduced him, to more pictures, more family photos. There was the one, Bernice, do you remember seeing this one, the one with the parents together? That was really sweet. They were younger and they were together. I thought that was a really, really sweet picture. And again, oh yeah, I look just like him. He's so handsome.
Yeah.
And he could see himself in his mom's eyes too.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she says, "Do you want to see a picture of your mom now?" And of course he's like, "Yes. Yes." She's what, 80? What'd they say, 84? 80 something? She's in her 80s and was talking about.
She's in her 80s.
And she's just, really sharp. She's still all there, and of course wants to meet him. And so he got to see a picture of what his mom looks like now. So that was so tender for him as well. Yeah. So very tender for him. So
maybe we'll see her day 7.
Yeah, I'm hoping because it's like that's what they're heading towards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're heading
Definitely
towards
a tissue day.
Oh, it's going to be. It seems like every one of his meetings is a tissue. Dan's as well.
I'm a mess with those two guys.
And it's not that the other ones aren't good. It's just no. There's just something about what we're seeing, and we'll probably see something with the other teams that get to us too.
Right.
So, but another good. And kudos to Race for making sure that David keeps going, and he'll be able to finish this race, at least get to day 10. And the way we're looking, he and Raylene may be the ones that are in that last that group and have to do that extra challenge. But you never know. We still have a few more days. You never know how things might turn around and who else might get those strikes. So you just never know. You never know on Relative Race. So let's talk about the results on day 6. And again, the winner gets to have 3 minutes off their time for day 7 and choose another team to give 3 minutes. That's got to be so hard. I can't even imagine. And they've done this.
I like what Dan says, that let the sucking up begin.
And on the Texas tomorrow, right? Exactly. So who wants to go over the winners for day 6, or
Blue came in first.
Oops, everybody.
We all want to do it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Who came in first?
Blue.
They're first.
They're first. That's right.
And Jody was so funny because she was like, "Yeah." Oh, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she didn't want to gloat.
And Dan's like, "No. you. You be proud that you came in first. That's good. That's good. And then she was like, okay, okay. So I thought that was really cute that she didn't want to gloat and know that because they came in first, somebody else would get a strike. I thought that was very, very sweet. Okay. Who came in second, which was a shocker?
Black.
They were shocked. They were shocked.
Yeah, they
I
were.
was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was so worried they were going to get a third strike. Not that that sends them out anymore, but that they didn't want them to do that. But that would probably make sure they were having to do that extra challenge if they got the third strike. But yeah, I think they were kind of shocked as they looked at each other. So, I mean, to have just gotten to know each other and not have spent much time together to be able to pull that off and get a good time. And what was Dan saying? 37 seconds between second place and third place. I mean,
that's close.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is really crazy. That's just maybe, I don't know what could cause that to happen. Maybe you're, well, who came in third? Maybe we do know. 37. Either running the stop sign or
Team green.
Or just one of the pipes not working right, That's all it takes for that 37 seconds to do that. And so then of course we have poor Team Red that gets another strike. So now we've got two teams with two strikes. So they're yeah. So and I was a little shocked that they came in last because the way that it was edited, I thought they did so well at the and they didn't have to. Oh yeah, they did have to wear the things, didn't they? But they seemed to have gotten it done so quickly that I was really shocked. And so they're very tricky as they edit. So we don't really know what's going on. So sometimes it looks like a team is way, way far behind. And sometimes it looks like a team is really, really, really doing well. And then that team gets a strike. So they're very tricky with the editing. So yeah, so who do you think? So Team Blue has got that 3 minutes. If it was you, who would you choose? Who would you give the other 3 minutes to?
I would give it to Black.
Would you? Yeah. Would you? Just kind of help them along? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, to help them, right? Anybody else got any idea?
I think it would depend on if you were thinking of Team Black as a threat or not. If they're a threat,
Yeah.
I really haven't been paying attention how competitive Team Blue is in the challenges. But I mean, in previous years, there've been like one team that was outstanding in the challenges. So
exactly. These guys all seem to be doing about as well as each other in the challenges.
Yeah. So maybe they'll toss a die.
Yeah, who knows? That'd be so hard to choose. Anybody else got an opinion or thoughts?
I think Bobby had an opinion and Jenny has to go talk him out of
it. Jenny has to go and calm him down. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out and why they choose who they choose. Maybe you want to give it to somebody that I don't know, because you don't want to get the strike, and then I don't know how you'd work that out. I don't know how. Here she comes, Jenny. Who would you give the strike to? I don't even know how to even work out any kind of strategy with that.
I know. That's going to be tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we just need viewers to write in their opinions because we don't know.
and see if we can get a consensus of who the viewers think might get it. I don't even know how you would even figure that out, unless there's just a team that you're closer to than others for some weird reason. But I probably would go with Team Black because I would feel like give them a little bit of extra help. But I mean, they came in second place, so maybe they don't need any second help. Maybe Team Black is a threat now. They've got this momentum of new people meeting each other. I don't know.
Well, and you could go with the other mother-daughter team because you kind of identify with them and
exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens on day 7 and who they're meeting, because we're really only got 3 more days of meeting relatives. So we've got some people we still would like for them to meet, and it's going to be interesting to see see where this goes and who they meet, and how much more crying that we'll do the next few days. So thank you everybody for coming and talking about day 5 and 6, and sorry for any viewers as especially me gets the days messed up, and so it's hard to remember what happened on each day, even though I've got my notes in front of me. So, and we were trying really hard not to skip over and spoil anything as we were talking about them. So, but we would love to hear your thoughts as you watch and talk to us about what you thought about day 5 and 6 and what you think is going to happen on day 7. So we thank you for watching, and I thank you all for being here and help guiding me through these 2 days and keeping me straight. I appreciate it. And with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye.